Hey everybody, Ellen here, and if you are new here, welcome. And if you're not, welcome back to my channel. I feel like it's been a while since I have gone like the good video setup direction. Like I've got my whole thing. I've got my mic, I've got my light, I've got my Audacity recording my podcast off to the side. I even did my hair, which this is part of the reason why YouTube is interesting for me, because I actually have to like do my hair before I go on camera. It's kind of why I've always liked podcasts, because I don't. I can just be in a messy bun and sweatpants and it's good. But I am very excited for today's topic, because today we're going to be talking about how to relax when you're stressed. This is something that has actually been very, very prevalent for me lately. In my day job, I'm a burnout and stress management coach in my business, but I do still have a day job, and I work for an education company. And that education company, start of the school year is always kind of chaotic for us, as you would expect. But it kind of tapers off usually as the semester goes on, and then kind of peaks again around finals. And this year has never really tapered off. Not to mention the fact that I have a lot of seniors that I'm working with this year. And with seniors comes a lot of stress, especially this time of year. Every single thing seems like it has such high stakes. And if you ever find yourself in a situation where you care a lot about the work you're doing and the people you are working with, caring can sometimes mean not only that you bend boundaries, which I'm probably going to do a video on in the future because I have thoughts and there have been things that have been happening in my life that have really put strain on my boundaries. But not only that, but it also really impacts you, because if you care about someone, you have a tendency to kind of take their struggles and the things that are burdening them on as well. I think whether you're an empath or not, we all have some sense of empathy, and we all do that in some way, just to varying degrees. And when that happens, sometimes that can really overburden us, especially when you're dealing with the stressors of so many different people, like so many of us are in our jobs. And yesterday I had a particularly stressful situation that was happening in my day job. And when I am stressed, we're going to get into some of the things that I do, but there's one particular thing that I do when I'm really, really stressed out. And that's going to actually be the first tip that I give you, is I do a stress relieving workout. And yesterday I really, really needed it. Yesterday, I was literally, started my workout, and it was one of the few times where I literally stopped my workout and I decided I needed to do something else. And I needed to do a workout that I knew would specifically help me relieve my stress. And I have a couple go-tos when it comes to, workouts that are very, very stress relieving. My go-to is MMA or boxing style workouts, because there's just something about punching the air when you are frustrated, when you are stressed out. Doing a workout in and of itself is really, really important for resolving the stress cycle. One of the things I loved in Emily Nagoski's book, Burnout: Unlocking the Stress Cycle, which is probably my go-to book when it comes to burnout. I'm actually reading Burnout by Christine Masloch right now, and she's just like the OG burnout person. But she talks a lot about the stress cycle in that book. And the stress cycle is something I dive into in my Anti-Burnout Collective membership. So if that's something that you're interested in, I'll go ahead and drop the link in the description below. But we have to resolve our stress cycles by doing something that has a physical component to it. And working out is perfect for that. Working out is a wonderful way to relieve stress, but I think you really have to know your personality and really have to know what you particularly need in your workout to give you stress relief. So for me, it is punching the air. When I have something aggravating going on, when I'm really, really stressed, I can literally feel the stress leaving my body. When you're stressed, you often feel like taut, like you're a string that's been pulled too tight. There's tension. You can literally feel the tightness in your body oftentimes when you're stressed. And when you do a stress relieving workout, it gets that out of your body. So MMA style workouts, I love. Yoga, if you're somebody who kind of needs to just kind of get back into that Zen place, I'll admit that's often not how I am. I need to punch the air when I am in this kind of a place. Or another big thing I highly recommend when it comes to doing a stress relieving workout is going for a walk. It's very, very simple. I wouldn't recommend going for a walk when it's like this outside. It is like windy and stormy, and honestly, I might lose my power. And you might be hearing gusts of wind in the microphone, so I'm sorry for that. But doing a walk is a great way to get this in, because I think what's nice about a walk, and when I do this, I usually do this with like a great playlist like my Badass Woman playlist, which I can totally link in the description below. I probably will. But I'll put on a good playlist, and I'm like strutting down the sidewalk as I'm doing this, because there's something about like a really, really assertive, really powerful walk that for me really gets that out of my system. The other thing I really like about walking as a stress relieving workout is that it gives you space to emotionally process, which actually leads quite nicely into my next big tip for how to, relax when you're stressed. And that is to vent, to emotionally process. Brene Brown, who is one of my favorite, humans of all time, I want to be her. Brene Brown says, piss and moan with perspective. And what I love about that is she is not saying don't piss and moan. She's saying absolutely vent, piss and moan. Do it with perspective though. But I'm a big fan of venting. I think emotionally processing and venting is incredibly, incredibly healthy. I feel like a lot of times we don't say what we want to say, and we don't express the emotions that we need to express, including frustration, including stress, or however stress might be manifesting for you. We don't express those things because we feel like, oh, I should be grateful, I should be happy, I should, see the bright side of things. What's the silver lining? And that's great. But if you never express the negative emotion, it just stays trapped inside of your body. And that's not a good thing either. So I highly, highly, highly recommend doing some form of venting. And I think there's two ways you can do this. You can either write it out or you can talk it out. Writing it out, I find to be a great method to use, particularly if the stress and the aggravation that you're experiencing is directed at someone. What I will often do is I write them a letter that I will oftentimes never send, but I will literally go into my journal or into my Notion and I will write them a letter. And what I love about this is it gets all of the shit out of my brain, but it also helps me formulate my thoughts if and when I do eventually have that conversation with them. So writing it out is great. However, one thing I personally find when it comes to writing out and emotionally processing by writing is I often find that I filter myself. I kind of edit things because writing is a slower process than talking is. Writing requires you, especially if you're writing pen to paper, which I also love, highly recommend, it's slower. And so oftentimes I can edit the thoughts that I'm having or the things that I'm saying, maybe dilute them, maybe filter them in some capacity. And so sometimes talking it out can be the best way. And obviously there's multiple different ways you could do this. Talk therapy is great. Having, a good vent session with a friend, whether it's, in audio messages on Instagram or FaceTime or like a full virtual happy hour or an actual happy hour. I'm actually going to dinner tonight with my friend. I'm very excited for it. But all of those are great ways to vent to someone, to emotionally process to somebody. And if you're somebody who kind of needs that or just wants their feedback or likes having somebody as a sounding board, that's a great option. However, I know for a lot of us, if you're a people pleaser or even if you're just kind of a high achiever in general, some of us don't like burdening other people with our problems. In that case, the ways in which you could talk it out could be maybe you just I'm recording with my smartphone. I went to grab my case. I was like, my phone's being used. Grab your smartphone and go to your voice memos and just talk into your voice memos. You can also just use the transcription feature on your phone. If you want to have it written out, but you don't want to actually write it, use the transcription feature on your phone. Or literally just have conversations with yourself in the shower or in the car. You might feel like a crazy person the first time you do it, but it serves the same purpose. You are emotionally processing. You're getting all of the crap that's in your head, the stuff that you're thinking, and maybe don't want to say to someone, you're getting it out. And that's, I think, the importance of emotionally processing. And in the same way that a stress relieving workout does, you feel the stress and the tightness and the tautness subside when you do that, in my experience. The other big thing you can do is deep breathing. This is the one time I'm going to get therapy-y on this channel probably, but deep breathing is literally similarly to the physical fitness and getting in a workout. Deep breathing similarly resolves your stress cycle. Basically what deep breathing and all of these breathing techniques do is it gets you out of your sympathetic nervous system. I know, fancy words, but basically what your sympathetic nervous system is it's that fight, flight, or freeze in your brain. It's when you feel the adrenaline rush into your body and you're like either like ready to bolt or like you are like, it's fighting time. You're like ready for some fighting words. Like that is your fight, flight, or freeze. That's your sympathetic nervous system. And what deep breathing does is it gets you out of your sympathetic nervous system and into your parasympathetic nervous system. And I call the parasympathetic nervous system the chill the F out part of your nervous system because that's basically what it does. It gets you to chill the F out. And so deep breathing is a great way to do this. So whether you are just being very, very deliberate about taking long, deep breaths from your diaphragm, you're doing something like box breathing, which is perhaps my favorite way to do a breathing exercise. I can go ahead and drop a link in the description below. Or therapists often represent something called the stop technique. And I'm not even going to lie right now. I'm going to pull up some notes so that I don't mess up talking about the stop technique. So the stop technique is an acronym and it represents, first and foremost, the S stands for stop. Stop whatever you're doing and we're just going to pause for a second. The next step, the T, is take a breath. And the idea is to reconnect yourself and kind of anchor yourself back to the present moment by just focusing on your breath and not whatever's going on around you or whatever your brain is thinking. The O is to observe. Just notice what is happening. What's happening inside of you? What's happening outside of you? Where has your mind gone? How do you feel? What are you doing? It's basically kind of, this is really just like a mindfulness hack. It's kind of getting you to be mindful about where your thoughts going and is that necessarily a good place? And then the P is proceed. So continue doing what you were doing, or maybe you decide that you don't want to continue what you were doing because you realize it wasn't actually serving you and you need to change course. This is very, very similar to what meditation does, frankly. This is kind of a momentary meditation, if you will. It is making you an observer of your thoughts and not reactive to your thoughts. That's one of my favorite things about meditation. Cool, yeah, it's peace, it's calm in our day, all of these things. But I think the best thing about meditation is it makes you less reactive to your thoughts. And that's kind of what the stop technique does as well. The next tip I have for you, I also love, is to watch a comedy or just some sort of funny video online. I literally, I'm not even joking, yelled out in the middle of a speaking engagement. Well, didn't yell it, but like very exuberantly stated it. Watch the damn cat video. Because that's exactly what this is. Similar to some of the other things we are talking about, the importance of getting yourself to laugh or find humor in a situation or smile, similar to everything else, it triggers and resolves your stress cycle. It resolves your stress cycle, gets you into that parasympathetic nervous system that we've been talking about. Because when you think about it, it makes a ton of sense. You know, it makes a ton of sense that, I'm Italian. I talk with my hands a lot, and I just smacked my elbow on the desk. Like, if we think about this very practically, what this does, you know, watching something funny not only feels good and like lightens the mood, but psychologically, if you're laughing and you're smiling, your brain is gonna think you're safe and it's gonna calm down. You know, when our brain thinks we are unsafe, even if the thing that is making us unsafe is like an email or a meeting and something that isn't actually physically dangerous to us, our brain gets into the stress cycle. But if we can convince our brain that we're safe by watching something funny, that helps to calm ourselves back down. So watch the damn cat video or pick your poison there. Then last but not least, the final tip I have when it comes to how to relax when you're stressed is connect with others. I think this is a big place where COVID and the pandemic really did us in because we missed our people when we were in the pandemic. You know, if you're a mom, you missed having fellow moms you could connect with to vent about your kids who you love, but sometimes, let's be honest, you need a break from and you want to get away from. If you're a business owner, you probably missed your fellow business owner friends or your biz besties. Because we can vent about things like clients who don't pay on time or they're constantly changing Instagram algorithm, which I feel you on that. You know, we missed having those points of connection. We missed those people who got our perspective without necessarily needing to try. And when we're in stress, we need that connection too. We need people who are gonna understand our perspective. This is what is called social self-care, which, just like the stress cycle, I also dive into in my membership. So again, check out the link below if that's something you're interested in. But in it, I talk about the different types of self-care. And this is one of the ones that I will never forget the first time I learned about this and the first time I looked into it, because it blew my mind. Literally, insert mind blown emoji, because I was blown away on the number of scientific articles and scientific studies that have been done that show the importance and how well studied it is that social connection and social support is a massive, massive contributor to helping us overcome burnout. So seriously, science says, my friends, time with your friends helps us to relieve our stress and recover from our burnout. So whether it's a phone call, FaceTime, virtual happy hour, girls' night, all the stuff we talked about before, not only is that situation going to help you emotionally process, which was one of our previous tips, but having that person who gets you, who's not going to judge you, who's going to support you socially, that is super, super important. So I tried to keep this relatively short and sweet. I probably could have given you 10 more tips, but I'm really cognizant of not overwhelming you. Those are my tips for today. So go ahead and drop a comment below. What's your favorite one? What's the one you wanted to hear? Or what's something that you do to relax yourself when you are feeling stressed? And as always, if you're enjoying what you're hearing on this channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And with that, I will see you next time. Bye.